This is my story of discovery about my town, about my neighbors, and about myself. You see, it wasn't long ago that I learned something new about the place where I live. Poverty is a very real part of my community, and in a much bigger way than I ever understood. I live in Montgomery County, Virginia. We are part of the Appalachian region, which has long been known for the poverty of its citizens. As recently as 1960, 31% of the population lived in poverty. But now, thanks to many improvements, that number is down to 17%. But Montgomery County still faces a poverty rate of 27%. This didn't seem like it could be true when I first heard it. The place where I live, where I travel every day, where I work, where I spend much of my time, doesn't seem like a county with a high poverty rate. The main population centers are Blacksburg and Christiansburg, towns that seem to have healthy downtowns, growing commercial districts, clean environments, and a population of about 100,000 people. And yet, we have the third highest poverty rate in Virginia, higher than large cities like Richmond or even Hampton Roads. I always knew that there was some poverty in my area. Just a few minutes walk from my house, I could see poverty in a nearby trailer park. But it always seemed more of an anomaly to me compared to the rest of town. So I decided that I needed to take a closer look at my community. Being the home of Virginia Tech, we have a large number of students who live in our towns. About 30,000 at last count, and many of them fit the definition of poverty. Some of them are poor by choice. Living with very limited incomes, they have most of their living expenses paid by others. But there are also those who struggle to pay their bills while they attend college, barely getting by so that they can hopefully make a better living in the future. Driving down the streets close to the university, there are many homes that look as if they could be condemned. But what everyone wants to talk about are the new expensive apartment complexes going up seemingly everywhere. Priced so that only the wealthiest students can afford to live in them, they provide a sense of luxury that seemed unthinkable just a few years ago. And they keep going up all over town. But clearly, not everyone can afford to live like that. Low-paying jobs, heavy debt, and substandard housing are the reality for many. But I felt like that not all of the poverty in my community could be attributed to college students. I felt like there had to be more to the story. So I went in search of the people who live in town, but who are often forgotten. Packed away on some of the forgotten streets, I found the poverty that couldn't be explained by the high population of students. People living in places where poverty gathered together, living in clusters hidden from view, but not far away. Just minutes from that cluster of poverty, there are families living quite comfortably. Right next to a neighborhood where the median household income is $21,000, there's another neighborhood where that median income is $104,000. Large homes may be the envy of many, but they only accentuate the difficult situation of their neighbors. While all races share in the poverty, it falls heaviest on the minority populations. 19.7% of whites in the county live in poverty, but 42% of blacks live in poverty, and 47% of Asians live below the poverty line. Hispanics have a poverty rate of about 25%. The county tends to be more liberal than many of its neighboring counties. In 2016, the county voted 47% for Clinton, 45% for Trump, and 8% for others. There's also a high level of acceptance of the LGBTQ community, with a number of our elected officials identifying as members. But it's the poverty that continues to divide the community. There are many low-paying jobs available in the county, with an unemployment rate of just 3.9% in 2015. But the local poor have to compete with the college students for those low-wage jobs. And there's always pressure to encroach on what the poor have. With property prices rising, new home building is starting to encroach on what used to be isolated groups of the poor. Having found these clusters of poverty, I felt like I had a better understanding of the problems in my community, but I also felt that there was another population of poverty that I needed to discover. The rural poor in the county tend to live in isolated valleys down long, winding roads. They often live on land that has been in the family for generations. It is not unusual to see old abandoned houses and barns alongside their current homes. Their poverty can be just as great as the people in town. They like to isolate themselves from the everyday traffic, making it difficult for most people to know that they are there. And they often present a hostile face to the outside world, with a great distrust of anything to do with the government. As I explored the county looking for poverty, I found myself wondering about the history of the land, the homes, and the people. I tried to empathize with the hard times that many of these people endure on a regular basis. And I discovered a sense of disappointment that I didn't know more and understand the poverty that exists in my county. It's important that we know more about our communities, that we engage with the problems that face all of us. Even if we don't live in poverty, we need to help those who do. Find out where poverty exists in your community, and then find a way to help them. Many organizations will welcome your help. In my journey of discovery, it led down many roads. I found many more pockets of poverty than I ever imagined were out there. I opened myself to the possibility that they exist, and because of that, I gained new insight into my community and into myself.